start streaming. So, should be live. I can open the chat. We'll wait and make sure before I jump in. All right, there we go. Live on YouTube, live on Facebook, and it looks like live on LinkedIn. I got them all working this time. So I have the chat up if any of you have questions. So now that's all going. Welcome to my May 2024 office hours for myself, Ben Stegink, for Intelligink, the company I own, work at. Just a little bit about me. If you are new to me, new to Intelligink, I'm a Microsoft 365 admin, consultant, and trainer. Also do a fair amount with Azure. Again, more on the admin side of things. I'm not a developer, we'll tell you that. I also co-host the Microsoft Cloud IT Pro podcast with a friend of mine, Scott Hogue. We release episodes bi-weekly, talking all about Microsoft 365 and Azure, from the IT Pro, admin, a little bit pro user, end user side of things. Also, I have a new option. If you're interested in becoming the go-to Microsoft 365 expert at your company, let me know. Any of these links are on the slides. At the end of the slides too, I do have a link if you want to go download these. There are going to be some various links on the slides that you may want to grab. Throughout the course of this, if you do want the links now too, feel free to drop something in the chat. I can go hunt down the links. A little bit about today. This is a little bit, I'll have some news that we're going to go through for about the next 15 minutes or so. I kind of went through some of the May 2024 news around Microsoft 365, pulled some highlights out of there that we'll look at. I am going to spend about 15 minutes demoing. I have my Microsoft 365 tip or trick that we'll look at for a few minutes. Also, 30 minutes at the end that I've kind of just opened up for questions. So anybody that's watching that may have questions about anything in the news, anything in the demo, or just really any Microsoft 365 admin questions overall that you want to answer, I will be happy to hang out, answer those questions. As we're going as well, feel free to drop questions into the chat. I am using Restream, so this is going to several platforms. I think all of the comments should come in if you drop them on the event. I do know for sure that YouTube comes in, so if you're watching on any other platforms, want to go chat on YouTube, I know for sure those comments will come in. Again, I'll try to keep an eye on them as we go. So, first of all, as we dive in, some of the news around Microsoft 365 from this past month. And there was actually a fair amount in the last week with the Microsoft Build conference. So I have some news from Build, have some other things that I went back and pulled out as well. The first one of these is SharePoint Embedded is now GA. It's hit general availability. This one is an interesting one. I will say it does. Developers are probably more excited about it than admins are. From a standpoint of other people I've talked to, there's a lot of developers that are super excited about this to build their applications, start using this for different applications. So there's a lot to understand from a developer standpoint, but there's also some things that we as admins should know when it comes to SharePoint Embedded. This is a headless, pay-as-you-go SharePoint site. So think of all your SharePoint functionality, files, lists, security compliance, all of that, but it's only accessible through an API for those developers to build applications on top of, is what it is at a high level. And then you'll be paying for that consumption as you store it. So based on my understanding, this doesn't go against your SharePoint quota that you have. This is a separate billing model from your SharePoint quota. I think there is some storage that you get for free as a part of SharePoint Embedded. If you are installing apps or if developers in your company are building applications. from the administrator perspective, again, something that we should understand is that this is administered both through PowerShell, and there is going to be the option, or this is available to administer through the SharePoint admin UI as well. If you want to manage this via the SharePoint or through PowerShell, it is included in just the normal SharePoint Online Management shell. So you can go update that, install the SharePoint Online Management shell if you want to, and there's some commandlets in there for working with these SharePoint embedded containers. If you're going into the SharePoint Admin Center, there is a containers section that should show up in the SharePoint Admin Center for you, so that if this is enabled, if you're using it, you can go into containers and view your active containers. Essentially, active containers, you can think of that as your SharePoint site. So there's the link on the slides, and again, I'll have a link for these slides if you want to go download the slides as well for the announcement around SharePoint Embedded, and then a link to the Learn documentation around managing, administering SharePoint Embedded. The next is there were some announcements around Purview and Microsoft Defender XDR, or the Security Center. There's some additional integrations coming here that allow you to actually prioritize security incidents using some of the data that you can get through Microsoft Purview. Really data significance, important data, data that's classified in certain manners within Purview, as well as insider risks are a couple of those key things that have come to allow you to better protect and respond to incidents within the Security Center, within Microsoft Defender XDR. With this comes some of this adaptive protection when it comes to insider risk management in Purview. So you can now set up customized indicators or customize the indicators that are built into Purview around what is an insider risk. There's a bunch of activities here. There's a great YouTube video walking through some of it, the announcement, again, the link's down at the bottom of the slide here. And you can kind of check on and off what indicates risky behavior within my tenant. You can also go in and create your own indicators. So if you have certain indicators that you want to be flagged as insider risk, you can go create your custom indicators. And then once you have these indicators, what indicators do you want to look at? Do you have any custom indicators? What are thresholds for that low, medium, and high risk level? So at what point in time do these indicators trigger insider risk? And is it going to be low, medium, or high as they reach these different levels based on these indicators? And then you can actually go in and even set up conditional access policies in Entra. So there's a new option in conditional access policies where you can configure conditional access policies based on those insider risk levels so that you can force things like MFA or locking a user account or blocking a user entirely from your tenant. Leveraging this information around data significance, around insider risks from Purview when you define these conditional access policies. So another great feature, helping you secure your data, securing yourself from insider risk. Go check this one out as well, especially if you're already doing stuff with insider risk. I know that does require some updated licenses. So something to be aware of, but another great feature to look at. Next up, we have a few announcements around Teams. Just some updates when it comes to Microsoft Teams and some of the channels and team management. Teams has been around for a while now, and there are a lot of companies, myself included, that we tend to get a lot of channels, a lot of teams, and you want to be able to manage that. You don't necessarily need to see anything. Cycle them off, just make some customizations really to make teams and channels easier to work with. Creating channels and creating teams are now in the same menu in Teams. So if someone goes and clicks the plus to create a team, they'll also have the option to create channels. Again, sometimes you want a channel. Maybe you don't always want people creating teams. Just surfaces that ability to create channels a little bit more. That's out there already. And there has been the return of controlling if users can find private teams or not. This is out. I'm not sure exactly when it came out. This is one that I feel like was available when private channels first came out, kind of went away for a while. Now it's back, so you as admins can kind of decide. I think this might even be for team owners. If you want users to be able to find private teams when they're searching, it doesn't mean they can join them, but they can at least see them. Trying to help reduce that creation of duplicate teams. And then there's some upcoming features as well. If you want to be able to mute all the notifications for a specific post. I've seen certain posts in Teams, I've been a part of them where they get really chatty, but you don't really care about it. The post wasn't for you. Maybe it was tagged as everyone, but then um, it's something you're not really worried about following. You can go in and you'll be able to go in and mute notifications for specific posts in Teams. Customize your notification sound. If you like to customize notification sounds, you'll be able to do that. Automatically hide channels you haven't interacted with for 45 days. Again, just trying to help automatically clean up some of that clutter. Go in, hide those by default or hide those automatically so that you don't have to see them. And then as you join a team, another option that's going to be available is to only show relevant channels or channels that are relevant to you when you go in and join a team. These relevant channels could be based on interactions, maybe people you interacted with. It could be based on what channel owners have flagged as important channels. It's going to kind of use, again, AI that's everywhere now in the background to really figure out what are those relevant channels to you and only display those. So maybe you don't see 50 channels or 25 channels when you join a new team. All these upcoming features are going to be over the course of the next 6 months or so. I think all of these are coming in the second half of 2024. So things to keep an eye on. Another link to the announcements if you wanted to go grab this deck. And let me just post this out in the chat. If you do want to grab the deck and follow along with these, it is intelligent.com/office hours. This link will be available. I think that maybe only went to YouTube. Yes, I can only respond on YouTube. So the link's on YouTube. If you want to go find this stream over in YouTube, I'm gonna have to think about this. Restream only lets me chat to YouTube, not to any of the other platforms that I'm live on. So that's Teams channels. Updates coming there. Another one is self-service BitLocker keys. This is a feature now enabling users to access their own BitLocker recovery keys. A little bit of a self-service functionality, not requiring users to reach out to the help desk every time maybe they need a BitLocker recovery key. How this is going to work, devices must be joined to Intune for the BitLocker recovery key to be available to users. So this isn't to access the key, but for that BitLocker recovery key to be published into Azure AD, into Microsoft 365, so it's available for self-service recovery of that key. Then obviously that has to be enabled by the admins, so not any device that logs in will just push their key up to Intune. Once that key is up there and published from the device, users can log into the company portal website, so portal.manage.microsoft.com, click on their device, and then go get the BitLocker recovery key for that device from this portal. You can see further down, they are going to work on pushing this out to the native apps as well, so the Mac OS app, the iOS app. So if you have a device with the app on it, eventually you will be able to access keys from the native app as well. From a security perspective, in terms of making sure or helping keep that BitLocker recovery key secure, you can, all that key access, if somebody goes into the company portal, accesses a BitLocker recovery key, this is going to be an audited activity in Entra. So if you go into Microsoft Entra ID and look at audit activities, you'll be able to see when users went in and access their BitLocker recovery key. Another thing you can do is you will be able to restrict this with a conditional access policy to compliant devices. So if the device you're trying to use to access this BitLocker recovery key doesn't adhere to the compliance policies that you've set in Intune for your organization, you can restrict access to these BitLocker keys when it comes to accessing them. So there are rolling some security there. So you don't have to be Intune joined to get these keys, but using conditional access, you can restrict it to only compliant devices. And then one more, and we'll jump into a demo, is this one's kind of just for fun, is Mark Russinovich has a article out there, a video out there, talking about what runs GPT-4o and Microsoft Copilot. Mark Russinovich, great presenter, love watching his talks. So if you're interested in getting a little bit of the behind the scenes on what runs GPT, Microsoft Copilot, this is worth checking out. It's not long. I think the video is only like 15 minutes. You're not going to get all the secrets about what's powering it, but it will give you a nice little overview. So something fun to go check out if you get the chance. So moving into our Microsoft 365 tip for the month of May. This is a fun one. This is one that there's been some updates to recently, and I've encountered a lot of people that didn't necessarily knew this existed, and once they see it, they really like it. I will warn you, it does require some additional licensing, which is why maybe not everybody sees it or is always aware of it. But this is the Threat Explorer in Microsoft 365. This is in the Security Center or Microsoft Defender XDR. And what this allows you to do is do some email and link hunting, reporting, and actually take different actions on what you may find as you're looking through this Threat Explorer. Again, this does require an extra license. It does require Microsoft Defender XDR for Office 365 Plan 2. It's a mouthful. This is a $5 per user per month license is the MSRP on it. It is also included, though, with any of the E5 plans. So if you have E5, you already have it. If you want to get it, you may have to spend a few extra dollars. There are some aspects of this that are included with Microsoft Defender XDR for Office 365 Plan 1. The part that I like especially is responding to some of the actions is not included in Plan 1, unfortunately. Maybe it'll change. I doubt it, but hey, might be nice. We can always hope, right? There were also some recent updates to the action experience that we'll take a look at here as well. So diving over into about Threat Explorer and real-time detections for Microsoft Defender for Office 365. This is in the Security Center, and you have these real-time detections under email and collaboration. This is that Plan 1 functionality. We're not going to look at this one today, but you can be aware that those real-time detections are there. What we're going to look at, what I actually really like, is Explorer that's included in your Defender for Office 365 Plan 2. Explorer contains a bunch of views, property filtering, and then this actions that allows you to go in and perform a bunch of actions on what you find. So this article has a bunch of information about it. This is that comparison between your Threat Explorer and real-time detections. So Plan 1 is this column, the real-time detections of malware, phishing, campaigns. Threat Explorer lets you dig through emails, URL clicks, campaigns, other things there. So we're not going to spend a bunch of time in here. You can go read the article. I'll have the article to this and all the links to videos after the fact. If you are watching this after the fact on YouTube, all the links will be down below. So diving into Explorer, it's in Microsoft Defender, and from the home, you can expand out your email and collaboration. And my phone is ringing. It's ignoring my do not disturb. Under Explorer, down here, and then you're presented with this screen. So this initial screen is going to show you all of your email. I turned off some of the columns. So first of all, you can customize columns. things like sender address, sender IP, some of those that are shown by default. This is my production email. Because of that, I did turn off at least who these are coming from and going to. Still be able to see some of the titles. But what you can go through and look at is priority account. These are actually going to one of my accounts because I have my account flagged as priority. Gives you dates the emails came, subject. It did leave sender domain on, so you can see what domain these are coming from, what the last delivery location was, if there were any threat types. Here we can see there's one that's spam that landed in junk email. So it just gives you an overview of all of that email coming in. I'm going to click on one of these that's spam, and if you click on the subject of these, it brings a panel up that gives you a lot more information about this email. The original threat, any latest threats, who the sender address was. This is spam, so yeah, feel free to go send Kimmy00478 an email. What that sender's IP address was, when it was received, message IDs, so if you want to trace it, what DMARC, SPF, DKIM, if there's any URLs in the email or any attachments in it. So if we go click, let's go grab another one here from, let's close this one. Let's go look at like Nick's Play and open up this one. You'll go down and see that once we get down here for them, it gives you all of the different URLs that are included in this email. So if you're looking to investigate what email or what links were in there, what attachments were in a particular email, you can go actually open the email entity. That'll go pop open that email entity within your Microsoft Defender portal as well. Timelines, analytics on it, similar emails to it. So this is that entity itself that shows up in Security Center. You can view the header. Use an Explorer. These, I think I have my permissions set right. It may be taking some time to trickle down. I did have some permission changes earlier today. But this allows you to, if you want to preview the email, download the email, do that. Up at the top here, you can also scroll through essentially some pre-created filters, where if I want to go see any malware that came in, I didn't get any malware delivered to me in the last day, I could go expand this out further and say what emails were delivered with malware over the course of the last month, refresh this. I actually don't think, oh, I didn't get a couple that came to one of my accounts that got flagged as malware. So you can see malware, phishing campaigns. This one I have a few more of. Same type of thing, where here I actually did leave recipient in there, but we could go in, customize column, pull out recipient. That pulls it out, and here we'll pull out sender as well. Just those should be fine, because anybody that's sending me malware, although it looks like maybe I was sending some to myself through some of these alerts around my website, but this is going to show you just those emails that are phishing. And we didn't look at this on the first one, but if these are phishing campaigns and I want to see URL clicks on any of these emails, I can go now look at email or URL clicks where maybe a user actually clicked on one of those links in those phishing emails. Good for me. I don't have any URL clicks in there. Top URLs, if there's a common URL that's in one of these malware messages, I can go look at top URLs. I didn't have any clicks, so I'm not going to have top clicks. I could look at my top targeted users, if there's a common email origin, any of those related to phishing. So email origin will show me where most of mine are actually coming from the US. Campaigns, content malware, all of these are going to be very similar as you go across the top, just kind of pre-filtering out these all email based on how they were classified as it came in. URL clicks will show you where people clicked from, top clicks. Again, just another view into all of these as you look at them. And oh, I should say URL clicks too is not just customize columns again. I will fluff recipients, although it's probably too late now. But URL click action, what those URLs were, the network message, the workload was the email. This does look at Teams workloads as well. So if you're in here and you were looking at more and there were URL clicks in Teams, this does track Teams messages as well as email. So a couple other things. When we're looking at, let's go back and look at our phishing emails. You notice I did change the date up here. You can classify these by date, but you can also go in and do a lot more. You can go in and look for phishing emails that came from a certain domain or certain sender domain, sender address, certain return paths, what the delivery action was. This gives you a lot of ability to really sort through all of these emails and see specific ones. So I want to go look at like this one. I feel like I've gotten a few from this user. So if I want to go not even look at the address, but the sender domain equals any of those domains, refresh this. Let's go see how many emails. I had a couple emails from that domain over the last month or so. These came to one mailbox, but I've done this for clients where it's actually maybe gone to a bunch of mailboxes. Somebody did a mass email trying to phish somebody at the organization and sent this to 30 mailboxes, 40 mailboxes, 200 mailboxes. And maybe you got a complaint or a report from a user about this particular phishing email coming in. If you get that report, what I'll do is I'll quickly jump in here. Yeah, we got a phishing email. It went to 200 mailboxes. Now what you can do, once you narrow it down by either the domain, by the sender specifically, by a subject, if you go down here and select emails, there's this little button that's kind of hidden right here that says take action. I can now go take action on this particular email. And what do I want to do with this email? And this is not just my email box. This is me as an admin across all the mailboxes in my tenant. I want to move this email box to a folder, and not just move it to a folder, but go in, I'm going to go show all response actions. My move to a folder is going in and just hard deleting this item. I need to go in and just zap it from all 200 mailboxes in my tenant that received this phishing email or this particular malware, because I don't want anybody to inadvertently click on it. I got alerted about it. I know it right away. Let's go clean it up. Soft delete it, just move it, deleted items, junk, inbox, just a couple different options. So inbox would be if something maybe got misclassified in here as spam, you need to go restore it to a bunch of users' mailboxes. You can not only clean up phishing, but help restore ones that were maybe misclassified. If you do want to submit it to Microsoft for review to help their detection, train their detection, not train their detection models, help their detection models. And if it's a clean email or if it's a suspicious one that got through, you can submit these to Microsoft. Or you can go in and launch an investigation within your security center. So over here under investigation and response, if you need to investigate the email, the recipient, sender, contact recipients, you can go in and open an investigation with that email as well. Once you've gone in and we'll just say we'll soft delete this, you can go choose and you'll see this went to my corporate email. Which target entities am I going to target? For me, it was those two different emails impacted this entity. If it was one email going to multiple entities, I could also choose which mailboxes I want to take this action on. Let's say we're going to clean up some junk mail. Click next. I can now review and submit this and click submit. And this will now go through and remediate those two email messages that I found in Defender so that those will be automatically deleted from all of my users' mailboxes. Super handy if you're dealing with a lot of phishing, cleaning up phishing. So not just for reporting and digging through your data, but also for going in and taking actions on emails that got through or are misclassified, so you can really help manage those emails, those Teams conversations in your environment. Just a couple other quick things. I know I was going to leave some time for Q&A. I don't see any questions yet, but if somebody has them, feel free to put them in. You can export this chart data. So this will just let you export it as a CSV. You can go in and export your table down here and select which of these columns you want to export. So if you have a bunch of email in here, you want to dive through it, take that data, put it into something else. I mean, I think like Azure Data Explorer, something like that. You do have the option as well to export this data from your Threat Explorer. So I think save query. Again, I think this is a permission thing. If you do have a query you want to run regularly, you can go in and save queries. With those queries too, because this is date-based, if you don't want to use exact dates, but rather have it be relative to when the search is run, so you always want to run the search for the last 30 days, which that's going to be your limit and how far back you can go. You can go in and save that query. So it's always going to query the last 30 days, the last 7, 14 from a date. And then once you save these queries, you can always go back in and rerun them. So hopefully that gives you a good overview of Threat Explorer. If you're watching this live, have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. If you are watching this after the fact and you have questions, feel free to still comment on the video if you want to. I also have the link to download the deck here. So if you do want to go download this deck, I'll leave it up for the next month or so until June 28th, probably about the time I do the next one of these and I roll this link over. I do have a newsletter if you want to go search for the newsletter. If you do have questions or you want to contact me, I'm not going to put my email address on here because who knows who will scrape it, but you can just search for Ben Stegink. You'll find my website. You'll find the Intelligent website. There's contact forms there. If you go back, I think my email address did pop up on one of those recipients. So you could pull my email out of the demo as well. But with that, if anybody has any questions, let me know. If nobody has any questions, I can always wrap up as well. So I'll hang out here and keep an eye on the chat for a few minutes for any questions that may come in. Or if you have anything you want me to do next month, any tips or tricks or additional YouTube videos you want me to create. It's been busy. I haven't been able to just sit down and create videos. I want to create a few more. I'll break this one up, create a few YouTube videos out of this, but always happy for suggestions as well around any additional tips and tricks you want to see, any additional videos you want created. Right, and I do not see any questions coming in. So I think I will wrap up for the day. Thanks everyone for, anything significant come out of build this week. So I need to go back and watch Wednesdays. There was some security stuff that came out at build, I think Wednesday afternoon. Not being a developer, I don't always pay as close of attention to build as I probably should. There were some announcements. There were a bunch of AI announcements, Copilot announcements. Let me go look, since you asked, I mean, I flagged some stuff as I was going through all my articles. Let me see if there's anything that kind of jumped out to me from build. Um, there wasn't a lot, I would say, that hit the blog posts that I've seen yet. Uh, Someone did tell me there was a couple security-based sessions I should go watch. Sorry, read later. Okay. Archive, version controls, backup. I don't think any of that was new. There was an announcement if you like SharePoint and you like more copilots. There was something that came out around building a custom security copilot in SharePoint, where you can actually go like create a custom copilot on a SharePoint site, where it just leverages the data on that SharePoint site. It is Copilot Studio, which I know isn't necessarily cheap. Everybody doesn't have it. But that was one. If you're interested from an Azure perspective, there is a public preview of Azure Compute Fleet, which I've run into this a little bit sometimes with a VDI environment. If you're doing Azure Virtual Desktop, run into it, even Citrix on Azure, where it seemed to be some issues spinning up VMs in bulk because it was a bunch of individual calls to spin up VMs. The public preview of Azure Compute Fleet allows you to like spin up, I think it's up to 10,000 VMs with like a single call. Deploy up to 10,000 VMs, multiple mixed VM types, mixed pricing models, mixed SKUs, and I think it's like with a single call to the web service. So like if there's some throttling going on and bulk provisioning like hundreds or thousands of VMs, that one was kind of interesting. There was some stuff, I don't know if this was build or not. Again, I'm just kind of going through blog posts over the last couple days. There's some new stuff coming to Autopilot and Autopilot, and I think it's just Autopilot. Yeah, the next generation of Autopilot around device preparation, where you can set up different deployment modes, different join types, but then customize the out-of-the-box experience a little bit more. Trying to look what else is in here. They announced kind of stuff coming around self-deploying and pre-provisioning mode. So there is some stuff around Autopilot that came out of build this week. What else? Log Analytics Workspace replication. Again, I'm departing a little bit from Microsoft 365, unless you're doing stuff with Sentinel for Microsoft 365 and Log Analytics. Log Analytics Workspace replication allows you to create a cold standby of Log Analytics. So you have like an active passive Log Analytics. The passive one is cheaper than a standard Log Analytics, so you can replicate your primary Log Analytics into a secondary Log Analytics cheaper. If you lose a region or if one of the regions goes down and you need to essentially fail over to your cold Log Analytics, fail over to the passive one, the cold, it's not cold, I should stick with passive. Passive Log Analytics, use that one. Once your region comes up, you can fail back over. I've run into that a little bit because when you're building a high availability scenario, sometimes people want 2 Log Analytics in case one goes down. But then if you're leveraging like Sentinel, you don't necessarily want all your data separated across 2 Log Analytics workspaces. It's a lot easier to have it all in one, but then you're missing some of the high availability stuff. So that one was interesting. I talked about BitLocker keys. Azure Virtual Machines, there's a free Bastion developer. We used to only have paid, and we had like paid and basic. That was a little cheaper. Now we do have a free Bastion developer. Oh, I think this was build too. There's a preview of bicep templates support for Microsoft Graph. So I don't think this extends to like the Microsoft 365 stuff, but it does extend out to like Entra managed identities, service principals, So if you're going and deploying service principals out to, or setting up certain things in Entra, and you want to do it as a part of a bicep template, especially if you're spinning up like an application that requires managed identity or service principal, uh, support for Microsoft Graph is coming to bicep. So that was an interesting one. Those are the ones that I've kind of flagged. I would keep an eye out. I tried to get through all my blog posts. If you've registered, again, there were some security sessions yesterday that someone said I should go check out. I haven't had a chance to do it yet, but those would be kind of my highlights from Build this week. So, any other questions? And I'll try to maybe post some of these, maybe in next week's newsletter. If you're signed up for my newsletter here, maybe I'll try to put some of those links as well in the newsletter. Maybe do a few more news announcements than normal from some of that stuff that came out at Build. But it does tend to be a little bit more developer focused, but there were some of those things that would apply to IT admins. So, any other questions that anybody has? Got a few more minutes left. Gonna drink a coffee while I wait. Thanks for the question, too. Appreciate it. Always good to have some participation. So I forget there's a delay, too. I need to wait like 60, I don't know what the delay is, 45 seconds, 60 seconds. All right. There are no other questions. I think I will go ahead and wrap up. It is about lunchtime here. Grab a quick bite to eat and get some stuff done. But everybody watching live, I hope you have a great weekend. I plan to do this again next month, so watch out social media, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all of those. The newsletter, I tend to announce it. I also am going to try something new. I didn't get to it as well as I wanted to this time, but I will also have a calendar event that you can download that has the links to all of the streams in it that I'm going to try to get in everybody's hands via the newsletter as well as social media a little bit more in advance. This one, I had wild month and kind of just popped up on me. But all that being said, hope everybody enjoys their weekend again, and hopefully we will see you back here again towards the end of June.